Off the Hook, airing on offthehooksports.com, your home for real news, real opinions, and what really matters about Tennessee athletics. The Off the Hook podcast at offthehooksports.com or Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or wherever you go for your favorite podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, iHeart. Like, share, follow, subscribe. Off the Hook with Dave Hooker starts now.
Boy, we are off and rolling, and it seems as it's just a matter of days until it's football time in Tennessee. Why? Because it is a matter of days. He's Chris Landry of LandryFootball.com. I'm Dave Hooker. Want to mention stop right now. Click on the subscribe button and get more information, more content from Chris Landry, me, Dave Hooker, Amanda LaFrada, my co-host on our daily show. Also, current balls like Jacob Warren and Cooper Mays, but Chris is where we are now, and I couldn't be in a better place. Chris Landry of LandryFootball.com. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, man. The football season's run. I was thinking this weekend, you mentioned this to me not long ago, that we had the Thursday night preseason game. But this past weekend, as I was doing stuff, and mainly working, but doing stuff, this will probably be the last weekend. Preseason game stagger, but we're close to that point where Saturdays and Sundays are just doing nothing. At least I am nothing but just viewing from morning to night on both Saturday and Sunday. So we're getting to that point slowly but surely.
We sure are. And I want to talk about Tennessee's backup quarterback position. It's always a snap away. People say that. Hendon Hooker's a great young man, a preseason All-SEC quarterback. So I hope everything goes great for him. I like a lot about him on a personal level. But there's a backup quarterback for a reason. So just talk about Tennessee's options in Joe Milton and Tavon Jackson. I want to remind you, this is brought to you by The Mattress Place, our Chalk Talk segment each and every week. Brought to you by a gentleman who's fought for our country, who has incredible reviews and will provide you with the mattress you need. Just a couple miles from Henley Street downtown. That's how close they are. The Mattress Place is there for you. 30 to 70% off, no gimmicks. All right, so Hendon Hooker, I think we would all agree, Chris, is a very good quarterback, but an even better fit for this offense. But Tennessee's coaches didn't see it that way this time last year, and they started the season with Joe Milton. As you look back on that decision, why do you think they did that?
Well, I think it had a lot to do with the fact that, in any system, but in this one, having a good sound feel for responsibilities, assignments, I don't think Hendon Hooker was there. I think sometimes people look at it as, it's like picking a shirt out of the closet, this one or that one. I match this shirt with this tie, and nothing changes. The shirt and the tie is going to be the same color, and it's going to work or don't work. That's not the way it is with football players. And, I trust the fact that they made a decision that Hendon Hooker wasn't ready and Joe Milton had performed, because you didn't have enough body of work within the Tennessee system at this point last year. So they made a judgment based on practice, based on physical gifts, based on who understood it the best. And the reality was Joe Milton struggled early, struggled with accuracy, and Hendon Hooker got better. So I think it's easy to say they made the wrong decision last year. Well, maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. Maybe the decision was based on X amount of information, but as the process went along, you had a lot more information, mainly with Milton, to we need to go in a different direction, and Hooker just got better and better. So now it's a completely different situation because Hendon Hooker has a whole year in the system. There's no reason to think that he's going to regress. And I think the big question mark is, how much better has Joe Milton got? Haven't seen him a lot in action. Certainly talk with the coaches and some of the practice stuff I've seen. You see a little bit, but that's not enough to know. Has he gotten better in terms of when does the ball need to come out, where, and has he improved his accuracy? Has he improved it enough to go in and help them play winning football if, as you kind of suggesting, your backup quarterback goes down? where does he go? It's his second year. He's more comfortable in the system. He's getting some reps in practice and had a good spring, but that's the key. If not, then that means Tavian Jackson would be the guy. I mean, if he's not accurate enough, is Jackson ready? Well, he's a four-star kid and, from Indiana, was an early enrollee, but, and he's got more experience than you might think. In today's world, he's got more experience than you normally had as a young guy, but is he ready to take over? If not, and he's go through the growing pains, you could have a real problem if Hendon Hooker goes down. Look, if Hendon Hooker goes down, all bets are off with this offense until we can see further. They're not going to be able to do everything as seamless with Jackson or with Milton. Now, Milton can do some different things that might be more effective, but I think obviously I would put big old question mark at number 2 of how good they're going to be. And which one would it be? I would certainly put it Milton and Jackson right now, but that's going to be up to Milton if and how well he plays should he get inserted in. It's going to be interesting to see. And I'm curious to see how much they play Milton if they get into, I don't want to, assume anything, because when you assume, you sometimes look like the first 3 letters of the word. But, how much time they'll get to play if they get into blowout situations for Tennessee, if you get big leads, in other words.
Yeah, and I think that would obviously help Tennessee, in particular with Jackson, if Tennessee got in a position where they weren't comfortable with Milton. And I'm not suggesting that'll be the case. It's a great story, but the simple fact is I can't get out of my head the Ole Miss jumping out of bounds thing with no time left. That to me screams of concern of a guy that might not handle the heat of the battle well. So I could be dead wrong, and I hope I am. Seems like a fine young man. But with Jackson, I know you saw him in high school. You saw him some in spring camp at Tennessee, but is he anywhere close to ready from what you've seen from him if he's needed?
Well, he's not ready, but can they do some things with him from an athletic standpoint? Yes. I think they can certainly run some parts of the package. I think move the pocket with him. I think those things can be successful. But look, the things, it's not the physical gifts. If it were the physical gifts, Joe Milton would be the starting quarterback because he's got more physical gifts than anybody there in terms of size and arm strength. That's not what it's about. Those things are vitally important. But it's, again, about accuracy, it's decision making, and those are the things that Milton has to have grown from. So for Jackson, he has less experience, a little bit more mobile than Milton, and probably could do more dual threat things. So I think no, I don't. I think that this certainly limits what their offense can do productivity wise if they have to go to the number 2, which, by the way, is the case with a lot of teams and a lot of programs. That's why there's a little bit of a separation here. So,
well, it's going to be more the case because you can only play one quarterback, and with the transfer portal, what's a young man going to do? He's going to bolt in a heartbeat.
Absolutely. And look, and it's a point in time to say, and people may say, well, where's Joe Milton going to go? He's already transferred from Michigan. Who's going to want him? They watched that game against Pittsburgh. He was awful. And now the reality is, I give the young man a lot of credit. He could have moved on somewhere. But trust me, it would not have been at a Tennessee level, but he could have moved on somewhere else. That tells me a little bit about the young man. I'm going to stick it out. I like it here. I like the coaches. Look, I want to compete. I want to learn. I want to get better. I completely understand what happened last year. But, and you talked about the decision making. Hey, look, I'm going to tell you, there's some things, and this is not the same thing, but I remember John Elway in his first snap in the NFL, he lined up under a guard. And so their mental thing, that shouldn't define a guy. I think in today's world it does, unfortunately. I don't care if you make mistakes, is that you don't make the same ones over and over, that you learn from them. That's what I don't know because I'm not coaching him. How much better will this young guy get? Because I do think, we need to look at your number 2 quarterback as you're one play away from being a starter. And if you're if you talk about the quarterback being the most important position on the field, you can make the case. You can argue against it, but you can make the case that the number 2 guy is the second most important, because you just don't know when you're going to have to play him. And you have to get it done with about 25% of the reps, tops, which is not easy to do. You know, you're basically sitting, watching, learning, but you're not getting the majority of the reps because the majority of the reps have to come from Hendon Hooker, your number 1 starting quarterback. Well, he knows that. Just started to play, get the other guy. No. If you don't, then Hendon Hooker won't be as good. Tom Brady won't be as good, you know, for the Bucs if he doesn't get 75, 80% of the snap. That's the way it works. It's a repetition thing. Doesn't matter how good you are. So I think that's going to be key. Is how much better has Joe Milton gotten? Has he gotten better? Don't know. It's a big question mark.
Last thing, give me some things that Hendon Hooker needs to progress in to become an annual star, would be the NFL level, I guess, but not just to be that 1 year flash in the pan, to have a good year in 2022, to have a solid career of some sort. What does he need to do? What does he need to address to get better from his breakout year to this year?
Processing a little quicker, thinking on the move, you know, getting the ball out, particularly on the vertical ball, a little quicker. Still make some mistakes on reads, fumble the ball a little bit more than I mean, one fumbles more than you want, but protecting the football in traffic, those are the things in the pocket that he has to get better from a read decision-making standpoint, and the physical part, protecting the fall a little bit better against traffic. So got to have better vision, got to have a better view of things. So that's what I think he needs to improve upon. And look, you know, it's quite frankly, he got the opportunity because Milton struggled, and he took advantage of it. So he's now at a point where he is the guy, but it doesn't mean he's got all the answers. And I think one of the things that he can get a little bit better, he's a bit of a gamer. I think he didn't make the overthrow, egregious mistakes. You know, I often think, I'm sure every Tennessee fan thinks this. I think it. Would they have won the Pitt game last year if Hendon Hooker had played? Well, every Tennessee fan is screaming now, yes, he would have, of course. I mean, certainly with the way Milton played, you'd like the chances better with Heupel, because that's hindsight. But the reality is, you know, you don't know how much he got better as the year went along, and he limited the mistakes, Dave, so that he was able to progressively improve. The mistakes that Milton played when he won the starting job last year at this time were egregious mistakes, costly mistakes that got him replaced. So for in Heupel's offense, Hooker's just got to continue to improve in the areas that I mentioned, and again, the other guys have got to learn and improve as well. Because when you get an opportunity as a backup, man, it's under fire. It's like a relief pitcher in baseball. I mean, you don't get to start first inning and the score 0-0. You're coming in the 7th, and you're trying to protect the 2-run lead, and there's nobody out. There's runners on second and third. Hey, boom, welcome. That happens. You got to be ready to go mentally and physically as a backup quarterback to come in as a starter when your starter goes out.
Yep. He is Chris Landry. I'm Dave Hooker. Again, the Mattress Place. That is your place to go, just a couple miles from downtown Knoxville. Henley Street is right around the corner, and that means you're right around the corner to fantastic savings. 30 to 70% off at the Mattress Place. For Chris Landry, I'm Dave Hooker, and that's no gimmicks, too, at the Mattress Place. Check them out on Chapman Highway. This is a production of OffTheHookSports.com.